whenever you want.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. So I am Swami Hamsananda. I came to Arunachala and settled down in 9th of July 1975. Since then I am staying here. So, in the 1980s, once I had a question that came to my mind, but that was the question without an answer. The question was, to whom I can relate to. Since I left the home and the world and found my shelter in Arunachala and Bhagavan in a subtle form, it was a subtle connection. So there was no need to relate to at the gross level. So anyhow, there was a question, to whom can I relate to? And the answer was silent. Maybe to give an answer to this unanswered question, in the 85 or 84 or 85, once I went round the mountain for Girivalam. It was a silent walk, meditative walk, and by the time I was at the entrance, eastern entrance of the temple, it was around 9 o'clock. So I didn't enter the temple, but standing outside the temple, I meditated on Arunachala. The mind was totally silent, and in that silence, a thought came like Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And I felt, oh, there is a devotee, a saint called Yogi Ramsuratkumar, whom I had never personally met. So I thought, when I was praying to Arunachala, since the name came, I felt like meeting Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He was by that time staying in the Centenary street, close to the temple. So, around 9 o'clock, I went there and knocked at the door. A boy came, asked for my name, then asked me to wait. He came back in a few minutes, then saying, Yogi wants to see you, come in. So I entered. Yogi was sitting there with around 10 people. I was shown a place to sit, so I sat. Yogi ordered for milk, and everybody was served milk. So we took the milk. Then Yogi turned to one person and said, you may go. Next moment he looked at another person, he said, you may go. Like that, within a minute, he sent all the people out, except me. Then I felt, oh, the procedure here is, you enter with permission. So, to entering, you need permission. Similarly, to get out, you need permission. Then I resigned myself. when a yogi asked me to go, I would go. So with that, my mind became silent. So initially when I went, what thought crossed my mind was, here is a saint who lived with Ramana Maharshi, whom I had not seen or met. So I took this as an opportunity to meet a saint who was also associated with Ramana Maharshi. At that time I was writing some articles for Mountain Path, a quarterly spiritual magazine published from Ramana Ashram. For that magazine I used to write 2 columns. One is called Introducing, another column is How I Came to Bhagavan. So for this purpose I used to meet many devotees, ask for their contact with Ramana Maharshi, which I would write and the ashram would publish it. Since Yogiji had lived with Bhavan, my interest was to know how he met and all those things. So as is the nature of the human mind, I just want to know who this yogi is. When that thought crossed my mind, Yogi looked at me and started laughing. He was laughing so loudly. And he was showing the hand like this and laughing. Immediately I felt he sensed my thought, which wanted to know who the yogi is. So immediately I realized that I am trying to find the bottom of the ocean with a salt doll. Like the attempt of a salt doll to find the depths of the ocean, which it can never find, and in that process it melts and disappears. So my experience was similar to that. The moment he laughed, I realized, how can you fathom the depths of the being called Yogi Ramsuratkumar? So with that thought, then my mind disappeared or dissolved and there was only silence. I had not gone with any specific purpose or to ask anything in specific. So that silence was beautiful. So I sat with him. An hour passed, extended to another hour. Since I resigned myself at the beginning that I would go when he asked me to leave, so the thought of leaving never came to my mind. As there was no other thoughts, I was sitting silently for 2 hours. Then he called the boy to bring another cup of milk. So again I sat for another 2 hours. And again after 2 hours another cup of milk came. So I didn't feel either the mind or the time. There was neither the mind nor the time. There was neither the question nor the answer. Both of us were sitting like that. And how long we sat, I was not aware of the passage of time. But it must be quite few hours, that was sure. So ultimately, had he not come out, I would have sat. How long, I didn't know. But after a few hours, he got up and walked towards me. Then I got up also. He gave me a beautiful hug and conducted me to the gate, the door, and asked, I liked your company. Did I detain you for long? I said, no. Then he asked me, what do you want? I said, blessings. He said, Father's blessings would be there with you always. So with that we departed. So when I was walking on the street, then I realized that chai shops on the way, they were sprinkling water and making this kolam, which generally they do at around 4 o'clock or so. So I thought it may be around 3 or 4, the time might be. So from 9 to 3 or 4, at one stretch, I was there without a words and without thought and without time. And this touched me so much. Then I found the answer to my unanswered question to whom I can relate to. So that relationship had begun in the 80s. That was how I first met Yogiji. And that was completely, I was absorbed by that. That it also revealed me a truth. That on recollection I found that I had the same experience some time back. The same experience. Then I realized in 1975, when I was drawn to Arunachala first, I sat in the meditation hall of Ramana ashram in his presence the same way. Only difference was, that was in the morning between 9 to 5 I sat, and the same experience repeated. The only difference is it is in the night. Apart from this difference, I found the experience I had in the presence of Ramana, where the time, the mind, everything disappeared and supreme silence was there. So the same seraphic silence which I found sitting before Bhagavan in the 75 repeated itself in the late 80s. Then that gave me a confirmation that Ramana and Yogiji were in the same state, because they both blessed me in the same state of supreme seraphic silence, and that gave me a satisfaction that it is possible to relate to that silence also, which I could not in the case of Ramana, for he had dropped his body in the 50s. So this was a new beginning in my spiritual life.